On the 9th of May 2022, Rocket League introduced a new update to the game. This update included a freshly reworked voice chat system, which allows players to communicate with each other during a match. As a widely used multiplayer staple of both competitive and casual games alike, it seemed like a no-brainer for Rocket League. The game had voice chat before this point, from its launch in fact, but it never really functioned properly, and most of the time was scattered and incoherent. Some players reported experiencing performance issues with this feature, which could even impact the server you were playing on. Ultimately, this led to Psyonix disabling the feature in September of 2021 until it could be reworked. With the rework now released, it unsurprisingly gained a lot of buzz from the community. For a game where the core gameplay systems rarely ever changed, having a now functional voice chat was huge and brought new life into game lobbies, both as a useful tool and a fun gimmick. Okay, so what's the problem? Well, it's been about a year since the feature was re-released, and for the most part it has been abandoned by the player base. It seemed that the feature never really evolved past being a gimmick, and that once the content stopped, so did the use of the feature. In fact, it only took a month or two before it started showing signs of disuse. That's not to say that it's not used at all, but those who were playing when the update happened will notice the stark contrast in use between then and now. But why would such a useful feature get dropped so quickly by the Rocket League community? And is there any way for this feature to make a comeback? To start, it's worth looking at the game itself. Rocket League is an entirely unique experience, I'm sure I've said that more than once, in that there isn't an equivalent that could be used in a direct comparison, which means that whatever works in one game might not work for Rocket League. One of the main issues facing voice chat in Rocket League is that the game lacks an overarching strategy layer for the majority of the player base. While in other games you could communicate to your team about character and item choices, specific strategies and so forth, Rocket League for the most part lacks any of that depth. All competitive games take place on the same type of pitch, and players are conditioned to play autonomously as part of a team rotation, with most knowledge being presumed before you even join. Ultimately, this leaves very little to actually talk to your team about. As you hit the higher ranks, you may find value in communicating moment by moment actions, but oftentimes for the majority of players, this information simply provides very little value to the team. It's also not a very long time to be in communication with someone. Most matches last about 6 minutes, from joining the lobby to the end of the match, which is one of the shortest multiplayer match times in gaming. You're immediately thrown in and free to go the moment the winner is decided. This means that players aren't as invested in individual games compared to something like Valorant, which typically lasts for around half an hour. Ultimately, I believe that voice chat's lack of use comes down simply to how the game is, but there are many different ways to look at that topic. You could, for instance, make a fair argument that introducing functional voice chat this late into the game's lifecycle was simply not going to stick, since players have grown used to not using it for their games, and actually using it doesn't provide much tangible benefit for the majority of players. It has the same issue that causes the majority of new cars to invariably flop after their release, in that they are fresh and exciting when they come out, but ultimately what people know best will win out most of the time. So is there really a future for voice chat in Rocket League? It's hard to say really. As I said earlier, it's not like it's not used, but in terms of significant use, it's likely never going to recover. I think you'd have to fundamentally change the way your typical Rocket League match plays out, giving more opportunities for players to talk to each other before and during a match. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that voice chat isn't used that much though. I don't think it'll ever be a requirement for a plat to use in order to win their ranked games. The need simply isn't there for it.